You're welcome back to the Gavel. And we're still speaking with the chairman, Senate Committee on Finance, on the proposed emergency powers for the president. Another one is to abridge the procurement process to support stimulus spending on critical sectors of the economy.
Again, this has to do with time, and I think that, Linda, I'd like you to look at, in fairness even to the parliament hasn't had to wait for such a request to come for the parliament to even take action in that regard. Even in the 8th Senate, a few weeks or a month before we went on recess, we had the Public Procurement Act report before the Senate. And the bottom line, the key point, the key issue, the main thrust of that report, it had to do with the amendment of that Public Procurement Act, had to do with shortening the time. So the National Assembly recognizes and realizes, not just the 8th National Assembly, even previous ones. If you check all attempts to amend, all those attempts have been trying to shorten the waiting time between when adverts are made for procurement to start and when contracts are eventually awarded and when payments are made. So I think that the only problem I have with all this is that I hope too that we are not oversimplifying even the processes that need to be done, right? And in that, in such a case, lose even the fine lines in terms of what that law, when it was made, how it was supposed to be, what value it was supposed to add. So just like you said, I think that in each of these cases, right, I don't think it requires having to send one mighty emergency powers, and then you get all these things. It's my position and opinion that each of these can be broken down into bits and requests made, right? That particular request, for emergency power, that touches that particular area, can we look at it in terms of an amendment of the Public Procurement Act and send it?
Amendment of existing.
Of an existing act. I think that each of these can actually be sorted out in terms of an amendment, because all of these almost invariably have to do with existing laws passed by the National Assembly. If before now, and I've said this at the beginning, that the National Assembly is responsible enough to realize and appreciate the fact that these are dire times that require very quick and expedited action. And I think the National Assembly is not going to be a clog in the wheel of having to get that done. And I think that as we get set to resume, I believe that everybody is going to brace up to that task and to having to respond with dispatch to any of such requests that is going to come and that's intended to strengthen and to quicken the hand of Mr. President to take action to be able to deal with the current situation.
Now, some Nigerians have said that there are some, emergency measures, which the present administration put in place to address this problem. That's liberalization of the downstream sector, the evaluation of the naira, and these measures have not yielded much, results. And so, what will be different if these emergency powers are given to the president?
I think that if you look at the totality of what issues that we have as a country, if you look at, our problem may not so much have to do with whether Mr. President has the powers to do environment without coming to the National Assembly, or whether the Public Procurement Act needs to be more and more simplified. While not saying that these are not problems at all, I think that in terms of the volume, in terms of the kind of problems, the myriad of problems that we have, that are the reason for our present situation, I think that the issues that you mentioned, the matters about, devaluation of the naira and whether what benefits it was intended to achieve have been achieved or not, those are more mighty issues. So you can come in tomorrow and give the president all those powers. How would the position of all those powers, how will it relate? How will it affect Whether if you go to the streets of Abuja now, you're going to use about 430 naira to buy $1. Those are the fundamental issues that we have before us. I mean, the fact, for example, that several months after the central bank resisted, the pressure, to float the naira, that it eventually did, and then several months after that there's still a yawning gap between the official and the parallel market rate, and that both of these rates, right, are headed northwards instead of southwards. I mean, those are the fundamental issues that we have. And I think that those are the things that we need to tax our entire energies to see how we can take care of. I mean, we need to look at why haven't we gotten the benefits of having to devalue the naira? I mean, why? I mean, what has happened? I mean, how come so long after that devaluation, so long after that, a line not having to fix the exchange rate, that the government remains the main supplier of the foreign exchange that is required on a daily basis? I mean, these are the things, to look out for. Not really, those powers. Yes, those powers will be able to solve a few things, but won't solve those kinds of things that will have a telling effect on our present circumstances as a country. I've said it elsewhere that I think that our most, profound problem has to do with the exchange rate of the naira, to the dollar. I think that everything else appears to rotate around this problem.
Now, this is where we draw the curtains on this week's edition of The Gavel. If you have any views on any of the issues discussed, please email us on thegavel@channelstv.com. Thank you for staying with us and see you again next week.